So last class we already seen that intermediate value property and this intermediate value theorem also, and we also did this question that x square equal to x sin x plus cos x has at least two real root. So the another question is that if f is a continuous function from closed interval 0 1 to 0 1, then we have to show that there exists a point C in the closed interval 0 to 1 such that f of c equal to c. So here two questions are there, B and C. So out of this, which one you want, I will do. Later you have to try yourself. If you will not get, we will discuss in the tutorial class. So out of B and C, which one you want, I will do that one.
C.
C.
C,
Okay.
sir.
So I will do C. So here it is given the function is a continuous function from closed interval 0 to 2. And it is also given that the end point 0 and 2, the functional value is same. And we have to show that there exist two elements x1 and x2 in this interval such that x1 minus x2, that difference is 1, and the value of f at x1 and x2 is same. So suppose I want to apply this. FC, what we'll do, we'll define a new function fx1 minus fx2. So in order to prove the result of x1 minus fx2 such that x1 minus x2 equal to 1, so I am defining a new function g of x, and I will apply this intermediate value property on this new function g. So how this is coming, because of fx, we have to show that fx1 equal to fx2. So first I am doing some backward calculation and then I will define the proper function g. So fx1 minus fx2 we have to prove. Proving this is same as if you are able to prove fx1 minus fx2 equal to 0. And it is also given x1 minus x2 is 1. So this will give the value of x1 equal to 1 plus x2. So I will replace x1 here. So I want to convert into in only one variable, not in two variable x1 and x2. That means what we'll get fx1, x1 means 1 plus x2 minus f of x2 equal to 0. This I have to prove. So instead of these two condition x1 minus x2 equal to 1 and fx1 equal to f of x2, it is same as if you are able to prove f of 1 plus x2 minus fx2 equal to 0. That means there exists some x2 such that this property will hold. And we can see clearly from this result that fx, there exists some c such that f of c equal to 0. So now I will define one function g of x, and I will apply that theorem g of x equal to something 1 plus x minus f of x. So what is the domain of g? Can anyone tell what is the domain of g? The domain of f is from 0 to 2 and this is continuous function. So what will be the domain of function g?
0 to 1.
Yeah, it is 0 to 1. So
0.
g is a function. So g is a function that is a continuous function because the function f and f is continuous. So g is a continuous function on this interval 0 to 1. Now we'll calculate to check that g of 0 and g of 1 is negative or not. If it is negative, then there exists a point between 0 and 1 such that f of c is 0. So I have to check that one point it is positive, one point it is negative. If it is we'll able to find, then we can conclude. So what is g of 0 and what is g of 1? We have to check it is positive or negative. So if we calculate g of 0, then we will get f1 minus f0. and if we calculate g of 1, we will get f2 minus f1. And in the question it is given that f0 is nothing but f2. That means the value of function f at 0 is same as f2. So f2 is nothing but f of 0. This means it is f0 minus f of 1, because it is given f2 equal to f0. So g0 value is f1 minus f0 and g1 value is f0 minus f1. Can we say that both always has a opposite sign, or the product is always negative?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
So if we do the product, then what we will get? g0 into g1
Negative.
minus of, you can write f1 minus f0 whole square, and this is negative, that is less than 0 only when, so when this is less than 0, it can be equal to 0 also. So when it is less than 0,
F1 is equal to F0.
when f1 is not equal to f0, then only it is negative. So that case we will discuss separately. When f1 equal to f0, then what will happen, we will see later. For the timing, we are assuming f1 is not equal to f0. That means this product is negative. So once the product is negative, so by this result we can say that there exists element in between AB such that f of c is 0. That means there exists, by intermediate value property, there exists some x2 belongs to this interval 0 and 1 such that g of x2 is 0. That x2 can be anything. So if g of x2 is 0, if you put here g of x2, that means f of 1 plus x2 minus fx2 equal to 0, and that we have to actually prove. So this is when f1 is not equal to f0, then we prove that g of x2 is 0. G of x2 0 means f of 1 plus x2 minus fx2 equal to 0. So now we'll consider the another case, the case number 2, like when f1 equal to f0. So when f1 equal to f0, in this case nothing to prove, because when f1 equal to f0, then no need to prove anything. F1 because f1 x1 equal to 1, x2 equal to 0, that means f1 equal to f0, and that difference x1 minus x2 is itself 1. So nothing to prove. It is already satisfying that property with x1 equal to 1 and x2 equal to 0. The difference is x1 minus x2 is 1 and f of x1 equal to f of x2. So nothing to prove. It is already satisfying that property. So in both the cases, that property is satisfying. So similarly, for the B part, you have to construct a function gx equal to f of x minus x, and then check g0 and g1. Based on that, you can conclude. If you will not get, we will discuss in the tutorial class also. Now this last property in this continuity, if function is the continuous, then it has a supremum or infimum. That means it has a maximum value, it has a minimum value in the closed interval AB. This result means if function from closed interval AB to R, then this function is bounded. Bounded means it has a upper bound, it has a lower bound, and that means it has a supremum or infimum also. So this result says that the function has supremum or infimum if the domain is closed. If domain is not closed, we cannot say anything. So this is one property or result of a continuous function. That means continuous function on closed interval has a maximum or minimum. If it has a maximum or minimum, that means it is bounded. And because it is a function, we are not taking the maximum or minimum of some finite quantity. That means that maximum means supremum and minimum means infimum. So the supremum or infimum for continuous function will exist only when if function is defined on the closed interval. So this is the example based on this result. The question is, there does not exist any continuous function from closed interval 0, 1 to 0 to infinity. The reason is why, because the function is continuous and it is defined on this closed interval. That means it is bounded function, but this is not bounded. 0 to infinity is not bounded, but this result says that it is bounded. So that is not possible for onto function. If function is not onto, then it is possible, but if it is onto function, that means the codomain must match to the range, but range is bounded, but codomain is not bounded. So that means this is not possible. So for this example, you have to write, because we know that the function is the domain of function is closed interval 0 to 1, and function is continuous. That means it should be bounded. But here the interval 0 to infinity is not bounded, so we cannot find or we cannot get any onto continuous function from closed interval 0 1 to 0 to infinity. So now the next topic is the differentiability. So I will define the definition of differentiability when you will say a function is differentiable. Suppose D is the domain of a function, and function is defined from D to R. That means it is a real valued function, not a complex valued or something else. And it is said to be a differentiable at a point x naught if this limit exists. If this limit exists, then we will say that function is differentiable at that point. Limit. So you have to find the limit of fx minus fx naught divided by x minus x naught at point x naught. If this limit exists, then we'll say that function is differentiable, or in other words, you can write h tending to 0 fx naught plus h minus fx 0 divided by h. So if limit exists, and you know how to check the limit, like we have that epsilon delta definition of limit, so by that also we can calculate, or we can apply L'Hopital rule or any other well-known limit. If you know, you can apply here directly. If you know any result of limit, you know, if the question will come from differentiability, then you need to prove. So if the function is differentiable, then this limit is equal to f dash x naught. So we can write this equality only when if this limit exists. If this limit doesn't exist, we cannot say anything. So this is equality will hold only when if function is differentiable. So what we have to do, you have to find the limit, then we will say that if limit exists, then yes.
Sir, once again explain the second line, sir. I am suddenly disconnected for a few times. Your voice is that time creaking only.
Okay, second line means the definition of differentiability.
Yes, sir.
So the function f from the domain D is the domain of a function, to R is said to be differentiable at a point x0 if this limit exists. If this limit doesn't exist, we will say that the function is not differentiable at that point. We'll see some example how to find the limit also. And if suppose the function is differentiable, then this limit must be equal to, because function is differentiable, that means that, so please mute those. So if here it is written if function is differentiable at x naught, that means its limit is already exist. Then we can write that limit is nothing but f dash x0. So geometric interpretation, I am not telling, it is the slope of the or tangent slope at that point x naught. And if function is differentiable at all points of the domain, then we will say that it is differentiable in the whole domain. And you know very well this result, if function is differentiable, so differentiability implies continuity. That means it must be continuous. So every differentiable function is continuous. So now this is the example. What can you say about the differentiability of this function? So this is not one example, but there are three examples. One is f1, one is f2, one is f3. So can you say about all three functions, which one is differentiable? F1 is differentiable, f2 is differentiable, or f3? Out of this, which are the differentiable functions?
2, 3.
2, 3 is differentiable, 1 is not differentiable. So how will prove? So out of this 1, 2, 3, tell me one, I will do one. Remaining you can try yourself. Like f1, f2, f3, which one you want, I will do that one.
3.
3. So I will do f3. You can try. If you will not get, we can discuss in the tutorial class. So what is f3 here? So f3x is x cube sine 1 by x, it takes value 0 when x is 0. So to check that this function is differentiable or not, we have to check that its limit exists, that limit. So which point at when x equal to 0 only there is a problem, otherwise this when x is non-zero, x cube is anyway differentiable function and sine is also differentiable function, so even no need to check. So we'll check at x equal to 0 will be what? Limit x goes to 0. So if this limit exists, fx minus f0 divided by x minus 0, then we'll say that this function is differentiable. So let me simplify this first. X goes to 0. So fx value is x cube sine 1 by x. f0 is 0, so I'm not writing, divided by x. That means to check the differentiability, you have to find the limit of this one. Limit x tending to 0, x square sine 1 by x. So what will be the limit?
0.
0.
0.
0.
0. So limit is 0. So this function is differentiable at 0, and that derivative is nothing but 0. That means f3 at f3 dash, that means the derivative of f3 at 0 is 0. So now the question is, how we'll prove this is 0?
Sandwich theorem.
Yeah, we can apply Sandwich theorem. We can apply the epsilon. Yeah, we can apply L'Hopital rule. If you want to apply, then it should be either 0 by 0 form or infinity by infinity form. This is not out of any one of the form, so we cannot apply L'Hopital rule here.
Divided by 1 by x equal to 1, then x tends to 0, then equal to 0.
1 by x equal to 1. Why?
Yes, yes, 1 by x divided by 1 by x.
Yeah, then on the top it is some finite quantity, at the bottom it is infinity, then why it is not 0 by 0? Even if you write 1 by x also.
The sine limit x tends to 0, sine x divided by x equal to 0, na?
Okay, that you want to say. Okay, like that you can do.
Yes, sir.
So we can apply Sandwich theorem. It is very easy to prove by Sandwich theorem, because sine function have value -1 to +1. So both side, one is x square, another is minus x square, both is going to 0. So limit is 0. Or you can even apply epsilon delta definition also. That is also easy in this case, at least, because it is boundary function.
So directly we can tell that x square sine 1 by x is.
Yeah, directly you can tell.
Because sine value will range from -1 to 1 only.
Yeah, in this example you can say.
Yes.
Like if you do f1, that means the function, so it will come x into sine x. Instead of cube, it will be x, and that x will cancel out with the x. So whatever in f1 will get only sine 1 by x. Suppose the question is for f1 is differentiable or not, then what will be your answer? It will give x sine 1 by x, and it is 0.
Sine 1 by x.
In that case, if you apply limit, so I'm directly writing without any calculation, it will come sine 1 by x. So is this limit will be what?
That's -1 to 1.
Between -1 to 1.
So what will be the limit?
Value
Limit
between
doesn't exist.
-1 to 1.
Doesn't exist.
Because
Doesn't
exist, it is, yeah. So the answer is it will not exist, because if it will exist, it is unique number. It cannot have like more than one value. Limit is always unique. So how to prove that this limit doesn't exist?
Sir, and by formula that is limit x tends to 0.
Yeah, my question is that how to show that this limit sine 1 by x doesn't exist.
It is an oscillatory function.
Yeah, these are oscillatory functions. Suppose in exam you will write doesn't exist, then what is your logic or conclusion? Why you are saying it will not exist? because of oscillatory.
Yes, sir. Domain.
Because sine
Yeah.
infinity can be anything between -1 to 1.
Yes, because sin x 1 by x lies between -1 to +1. But when you put x equal to 0, it will become infinity. So we don't know where it will go. So this limit doesn't exist. So this is one way. Another criteria is that you can construct a sequence like 1 upon which will goes to 0 because x goes to 0. So like that you construct two different sequence and find the sine 1 by x. If both have the different limit, then you will also say that this sine 1 by x doesn't exist. By sequence criteria also you can do. For example, if I will construct two sequence, one is 1 upon n pi, then this is going to 0 because x goes to 0. But what is the sine xn? Sine xn will be
Not defined.
defined. Sine xn will be
0.
yes, because here 1 upon xn we will put for this function, it will give 0. So to prove the limit does not exist, we will construct another sequence. In that case, we will construct a sequence such that its value will not come 0. Something else it will come. That means it is going to some other number. So can you give me some other sequence which will goes to 1? Like sine 1 by x will goes to 1.
4 plus 1 into pi by 2.
Like 4n plus 1, this pi by 2. Now in this case, if you calculate, it will give 1. That limit goes to 1. So like that also we can prove that limit does not exist. So this is not equal, it is going to 0. See, the limit of this both sequence is 0. Like x tending to 0, limit is same, but the functional value sine 1 by x, in one case it is coming 0, in another case it is coming 1. So that is not possible because if limit exists, it must be unique. So it is going to different numbers. So this limit doesn't exist by sequential criteria, like by using sequence. Let us see the another example. What about this? Is this function is differentiable at 0 or not?
Yes, sir.
So how will prove it is differentiable at 0? Differentiability means we have to check that limit at x goes to 0 f of x minus f of 0 divided by x minus 0. This exists or not? If it will exist, then we will say that function is differentiable at 0. So how to check that this limit will exist or not?
Sir,
Yes.
sir, the previous question can we do with the help of the definition of limit?
Yes, we can do. Like epsilon delta definition you are saying, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes,
it is. We can do.
By assuming epsilon 1.
Yeah, you can assume epsilon 1 and just find the delta. It will be something greater than epsilon for every delta. Then we will disprove. So now the question is how to check this limit exists or not for this. What is the value of f0? 0 is the rational number, so value of f0 will be 0 square.
0.
That means 0. So it will give something fx by x. This limit exists or not? How to solve?
Yes, sir, exist.
So we are doesn't exist. So how many of you think this limit doesn't exist? Is this function is continuous or not? Forget about differentiability.
Yes, sir. Continuous.
Yes, sir.
This function is continuous only at x equal to 0, because if x is not 0, you can choose a rational sequence which will converge to irrational, then it will not match to 0. For rational, for irrational also you can construct a rational sequence which goes to rational, then also it will not match. It will match only at x equal to 0. So this function is not continuous all point except 0. So definitely remaining point it cannot be differentiable, because if function is not continuous we cannot say that it is differentiable, because differentiability implies continuity. That means not continuity implies not differentiable. So when x is a rational or irrational except 0, this function is not differentiable. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So now the question is that at 0, is this function is differentiable or not? 0
Yes,
means
sir.
if this limit exists or not.
No, sir.
Yes, sir.
So
No, sir.
No, sir.
because function is continuous only at single point. Now the question is it differentiable or not?
Sir, because x tending to 0, we can take x square or 0. Because
Yeah, at x tending to 0, we don't know it is a x square or 0. So how will do? So I'm doing the sequential criteria, or you can do definite. So this one.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, can you write in the fx can be either x square or 0?
Yes, we can write.
Well,
That's why
yes,
I'm
sir.
going to write.
Yes, sir.
Fx minus 0 mod is less than epsilon. So this is function for which I want to calculate the limit, and I want to show that limit is 0 by epsilon delta definition. So here there are two possibilities. It is either x square by x, or it can be 0 and then minus 0. That means this mod will give either x, or it will give 0 minus 0. So in both the case I will discuss first case when it is x, when it is 0. When it is x, then we will get mod of x is less than epsilon. So can you tell me what will be the delta? See here
delta
x
equal to
minus,
epsilon.
yeah, x minus x naught is less than delta, x naught is 0, so delta equal to epsilon. That means this limit will be 0 in that case. When it is 0, then definitely we know 0 mod epsilon is anyway positive quantity. It is always satisfy for all delta. Whatever delta you want to choose it. That means this is hold for both the cases by using epsilon delta definition. So this function is differentiable at 0. It is continuous also at 0. Is it okay?
Sir, in this type of question, where we have to ask that to find the differentiability,
Yeah.
directly we cannot differentiate and check at x equal to 0.
See, when you are differentiating directly, how you know it is differentiable? If you know it is differentiable, then you can differentiate. If you don't know the function is differentiable, how you will differentiate? Can you differentiate mod x and mod x? Tell me, mod x is differentiable at 0 or not?
Yes, sir.
Mod x function.
No, sir.
No,
No,
sir.
sir.
No,
No,
sir.
sir.
No.
No, sir.
No, sir. It is
So when x is
Dark
positive,
edge.
then it
No,
is
sir.
x.
Dark edge.
X is negative is minus x. That differentiation is 1 and this differentiation is minus 1. So can we
Yes.
say that this is the mod x? Can we say that minus 1 is the differentiation or derivative of mod x? I can
No, sir.
differentiate. So you can differentiate doesn't mean that function is differentiable. Here I differentiated x differentiation is 1. In this case, minus x differentiation is minus 1. So whatever I am writing, this is x positive and this is x negative. Is this function is the derivative of mod x or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Is it? If you are saying it is the derivative of this, but mod x is not differentiable at 0. So how you will able to find the derivative?
Yes, sir. Yes.
So there are some rule finding the derivative. I will not discuss. You know, like if two function in the form of product, then how you will differentiate, like product rule, quotient rule, chain rule, all those things you know. So I am not discussing those rules. Like sin x into cos x, how to differentiate by product rule, or sin x by cos x, how you will differentiate. Similarly, if some function of g, like sine is a function of x square, like sine x square, how you will differentiate. So those things you know. So that's why I'm not discussing. So there is one definition of local maxima or local minima. We'll see how to find maxima minima also. So a function f from D to R has a local maxima or it is minima. So if it is, so first we'll see local maxima. So we'll say that the point x naught in the domain D is said to be local maxima if there exists a delta positive such that fx is less than f of x0 in the neighborhood of that delta in that domain. If it is minimum, that means fx is bigger than fx0 in the neighborhood of that delta. So what does it mean? So in terms of pictures, so this function, this is point x naught. At point x naught is maxima or minima by this picture?
Maximum.
So what this definition says that if you take a neighborhood
Maximum.
of this like x naught plus delta and x naught minus delta, so in this domain, like in this region, whatever functional value you will get, this value f at x0 will be the maximum value. That means f of x0 will be greater than all element in this domain. Like whatever x you will choose, x naught minus delta to x naught plus delta, out of those all f of x, x0 will be bigger. Then x0 is the maxima and it is in the neighborhood of that. That's why we are calling it is local maxima. Similarly for minima, if it is minima, something like this. So in this domain, if you choose, this is point x naught, then this is x naught plus delta, and this is x naught minus delta. So in this domain, this value will be the minimum. That means fx0 will be less than for all value in this domain. Then we will say that it is local minima. A function can have more than one maxima, more than one minima also. And all are called local maxima or minima. Which one has the maximum value, that is called global maxima, and which one will have the minimum value, that is called global minima. For example, this function. So these all are local maxima. Local means whenever you will take this point and neighborhood of this, whatever point is that, this property will satisfy. So this is a maxima. Similarly, this is also maxima and this is also. So all are, these are all maxima, these are all minima. So out of this, which one is the lesser, that will be local global minima, and which one is the maximum, that is global maxima. So we'll see how to find maxima minima also. So this is just definition. So now this result is very much important. So how many of you previous this class have seen this result? If f from D to R has a local maxima or minima, we are not sure that it is maxima or minima at the interior point x naught of this domain, then function is differentiable at that point and its derivative must be 0. So how many of you familiar with this result?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Anyone
Yes,
Sir,
who
this x naught
who
is called critical
Yes.
point, sir.
Yes, sir.
yeah,
Exactly
you
that
can say
point
it
that
is
x
critical
naught.
point. Yes, you can
Yes,
say it
sir.
is critical point. So I think everybody is familiar with this result. Okay, so I will come
Yes.
to that result when we'll find this maxima or minima. Just remember this result. Okay. So that I will come, the how to find maximum minima, like this first derivative, then you have to differentiate again, you will get second derivative, sign positive, negative. I think everybody will know this. I will come to that, but little bit later. So before that, like we have one theorem that is called intermediate value theorem in continuity. Something similar to that, there is one theorem that is called Rolle's theorem. So what is the statement of this? I will come to maximum minima later. So a function f from closed interval ab to r is continuous. So in the closed interval it is continuous. In the open interval it is differentiable. And the functional value f of a and f of b is same. Then this theorem says that there exists a point c in the interval ab such that its derivative is 0. What intermediate value property says that if the product is negative, then functional value is 0. But this Rolle's theorem says that if fa and fb is equal, function is continuous and differentiable in the open interval, then its derivative will be 0. So the proof of this I will not give. I will just jump to the some example based on this, like how to use this. So this question we have already seen. This question has exactly 2 real roots. That is the question. So some few class back we have did this has at least 2 roots. Now the question is it has exactly 2 real root. That means it cannot have more than 2 root. It has 2 root but exactly 2 root. So how we will prove? Another question is this one. This is the 4th order polynomial and it has exactly 2 real root. Remaining 2 are complex. Without solving by using this Rolle's theorem or intermediate value theorem, we can claim that it has. We are not saying what is the root, but we can say that how many roots by using that. So this both question we will do. Before that, this is the one generalization of Rolle's theorem or something that is called mean value theorem. Everything is same. Function is continuous in the closed interval. It is differentiable in the open interval. Then there exists a point C such that fb minus fa equal to f dash c into b minus a. So based on these 3, intermediate value theorem, Rolle's theorem and mean value theorem, we will solve this example A and B. So intermediate value theorem will give that the function, the root of that function. The function will have root or not, that f dash c is 0, fc is 0. Rolle's theorem says that its derivative is 0. And what this mean value theorem says? Can anyone tell? What is the geometrical interpretation of this mean value theorem?
It has a slope.
Yeah.
The slope
Define
of
slope
secant
of a
is
tangent.
equal to tangent.
Yes,
Tangent
so
of
it,
two points.
Tangent.
yes, so in
The
terms
slope
of
of A and B is
tangent,
equal to tangent and C.
yeah, so the statement of this is like fb minus fa divided by b minus a equal to f dash c if b is not equal to a. So suppose this is the graph of function. This is the point A. This is point B. And if you join this line, this one, then what will be the slope of this line? This point is a comma fa and this point is b comma fb. So joining these 2 point a comma fa and b comma fb, what will be the slope of that line?
FB
fb minus f of
fb
b
minus
B
fa divided by
minus
b
FB
minus a.
minus
f
FA
over
by
a
B minus A.
minus b.
Yeah. So now what this theorem says that this fb minus fa, this fb minus fa, if you divide by this b minus a, what you will get? F dash c. So that means there exists a point C such that the slope of the tangent is exactly same as this slope whatever I draw previously. That means blue line and red line have the same slope. Okay, so this is the geometrical interpretation of mean value theorem. Now I will tell some other application in terms of root, what it is giving. Suppose a function have 2 roots. Suppose a function have 2 roots. So what does it will do? Suppose the function have 2 distinct root, not only 2 equal root, 2 distinct root. Suppose x1 and x2 are the 2 roots of some function f of x. Then this theorem says that between x1 and x2 there is a root of derivative of f of x. Like suppose for example function is sin x, its derivative is cos x. So what this theorem says that between 2 roots of sin x there is a root of cos x. See, suppose there are 2 roots a and b. If a and b are root of function, then f of a and f of b will be equal to 0 because these are roots. So if it is 0, if you start put here, this right hand side will be 0, this will give f dash c will be 0 because a and b are distinct root. So this b minus a is non-zero. So this result is mean value theorem will give f dash c is 0. F dash c 0 means there is a root of derivative in between the root of a and b. Is it clear to everyone? Like if you have any function, if you have 2 root, its derivative also has a root in between. That is the mean value theorem. Is it clear to everyone? or
Yes,
anyone
sir.
want me to repeat?
Yes, sir.
Like
Yes,
for
sir.
example, if you give me 2 roots of sin x, I
Yes,
can
sir.
give 1 root of cos x. Like this is the graph of sin x. So this is the root of sin x. These are because sin x is 0. So the derivative of sin x is cos x. So definitely cos x have root somewhere here, and if you draw even the picture of cos x, you know where is the root. So this is the root. So according to mean value theorem, between 2 roots of function, there is a root, at least 1 root of its derivative. So now we'll do this example. We'll show that this has exactly 2 real root. So first we'll show that by intermediate value property, I will repeat again, it has a 2 roots. So just tell me 2 points where it is positive and negative. Based on that, it has a root. So give me 2 points where this function is 1 point it is positive, 1 point it is negative.
0 pi.
Yeah, 0 and pi. So here I am calculating f of 0, f of pi, and I will calculate f of minus pi also. And the function f of x is x square minus x sin x minus cos x. So f of 0 is minus 1, f of pi is pi square plus 1, this is also pi square plus 1, this is negative, this is positive, this is positive. So this is 0, this is minus pi, this is pi. So by intermediate value property, from 0 to pi there is some root, and from minus pi to pi also there is a one root. Somewhere there exists some c, we don't know where. This is by intermediate property. So intermediate property says that there exists at least one root in minus pi to 0 and one root from 0 to pi and one root in 0 to pi. That means it has at least 2 root. It can have more than 2 also, we don't know. Now the question is, you have to show that it has exactly 2 roots. So we'll apply mean value theorem or this combination of rows theorem. So we'll first calculate the derivative of this function, like how many roots the derivative have. So what is the derivative of f of x? So the derivative of this will give 2x
minus sin x.
2x minus x as it is.
Sin x.
We'll apply the product rule to differentiate sin x. It will give some cos x, and that much I think. Let's check it is correct.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
The derivative of fx. So now how many roots that this derivative has? If you take x common,
1.
it will give 2 minus cos x. This is equal to 0 for what x? It will give x equal to
0.
0.
0.
This cannot be 0 because cos value will be never reach 2. It will be like between minus 1 to 1. So
Yes,
that means derivative has only one root. Right. So by mean value theorem, we will again say that if function have 2 roots, its derivative has one root in between. So if derivative has only one root, that means its function have 2 root. Yes or no? At most 2 at most 2 root. Because in those 2 roots there exists one root of derivative. So by mean value theorem, we can conclude from here that f has at most 2 roots. Because in between these 2 roots there is a root x equal to 0 of this derivative. So it has at most 2 roots. It has at least 2 root by intermediate value property. So if you combine, you can conclude that it has exactly 2 real root. So for this exactly 2 real root, you have to use intermediate value property first. It will give guarantee that at least 2 root. And then you use mean value theorem. It will give at most 2 root. that means it has exactly 2 roots. So anyone have any doubt, please tell. I will repeat if you want.
No, sir.
So now can you prove the B part? This has exactly 2 real root or not? So first we will differentiate this. First tell me 2 points where it is positive or negative, so that we can say that it has at least 2 real root. Then we will go to at most.
0, it's positive, sir.
Positive at x equal to 0.
1.
So if it is f of x,
Negative at
you
1.
can calculate f of 0.
0
At 1, negative,
and x
sir.
equal to 1.
F1 you can check, and f of 2 also you can check. So this is positive. What about f1? And what about f2?
Negative.
Negative, sir.
F1 is
F2
negative,
positive, sir.
f2 positive.
F2 positive.
So
What
here
is, sir?
positive negative, that means between 0 to 1 at least 1 root, and between 1 and 2 also at least 1 root. So total at least 2 root for this function. Now we'll do exactly 2 root, that means at most 2 roots. So first we'll differentiate this. So fx equal to this one, x to the power 4 2x square minus 6x plus 2. Then what will be the derivative of this? 4x cube.
4x cube plus 4x minus 6.
Then we'll differentiate again, because I don't want to solve this cubic equation. Then double derivative will be give 4. No, double derivative will give 12
Square.
12x square plus 4.
Plus 4.
From here at least we can solve. If you can solve f dash, then no problem. But I don't want to solve because it is cubic equation. So I converted into the, even you can differentiate one more times. So tell me this function f double prime, triple prime or third derivative, it is always positive or not? Whatever x I will put.
Yes,
That
sir.
means it doesn't have any roots.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
That means it doesn't have any roots. The derivative of f dash doesn't have any roots. What does it mean? F dash can have at most
1 root.
One root.
Because if f dash have 2 roots, then according to the mean value property, there exists 1 root of that derivative in between. So that is not possible, because third derivative here doesn't have any roots. That means f dash can have at most 1 root. And if f dash have at most 1 root, that means f can have at most 2 roots. So it has at most 2 root, at least 2 root, that means exactly 2 roots. So anyone have any doubt? Tell me. I will repeat if you want.
Sir, second thing, one I can explain. F dash x, then why it is at most 2 root?
F dash has 1 root, exactly 1 root, right?
Sir.
Why only 2? This is for x1, this is x2. Suppose you will choose 3. Forward about 2. Suppose you have 3. Then what this mean value will give? It will give 1 roots for this derivative. That means for f dash, and 1 root here. It will give, because between 2 roots there is a root of derivative. But f dash have at most 1. It cannot be possible. So 3 it cannot have. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So it have at most 2 only, because if it have 3, then its derivative have 2 in between, at least 1 root by mean value theorem. So it has exactly 2 real root, but because it's 4 degrees, so remaining roots are complex number.
Sir,
Yes.
question A is also proved by Rolle theorem.
Question A, yeah, first I apply here. It is by intermediate value property has at least 2 roots, then by derivative it is have only 1 roots. So it can have at most 2 roots. The derivative has
Yes,
1
sir.
root, so both I already did.
Sir,
Yes. So, yeah, tell me.
sir, I just cannot get, sir, why f double dash x does have no real roots.
F double,
Matlab, sir, double derivatives.
yeah, double derivative came 12x square plus 4, right?
Yes, sir. Yes,
So
sir.
tell me the point where 12x square plus 4 equal to 0. Can you give me one x? For that it is 0.
No, sir.
So it doesn't have
Yes,
any
sir,
root.
got
Root
it.
root means it will be
Yes, sir,
0.
yes, sir. Yes, sir, yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
So by intermediate and this Rolle's theorem or mean value theorem, you can combine and you can say the exact number how many roots, and see how many times I differentiate, because I can easily calculate here. So you can differentiate as many as times in order to get your conclusion. Like if it is 5th degree, you cannot solve, then differentiate even up to 1 degree also you can go. So here I can conclude, so I am going back. Like it has 0, then it has 1, then it will be 2. Okay, next class we'll see increasing function, decreasing and all. This is just definition.